Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the sandals of a legend, a figure whose name echoes through the annals of Japanese history. A swordsman whose life was as much philosophy as it was steel. We're talking about Miyamoto Musashi, the famed Ronin artist, and author of the Book of Five Rings. But before you picture a stoic, wise sage, let's go back to the beginning. You are not yet the venerable master. You are a wild, untamed spirit, a boy named Benasuke, born in the rugged countryside of Harima province in the late 16th century. It's a tumultuous time, a period of relentless civil war known as the Sengoku Jidai, or the Warring States period. One mainstream historical fact about your youth is that your first duel takes place at the astonishingly young age of 13. The accounts vary slightly, but the essence is the same. You charge him, perhaps with a wooden staff, or maybe you simply grapple. You seize him, throw him to the ground, and as he tries to rise, you strike him, perhaps with a staff or a bludgeon, delivering a fatal blow to his head. It's quick, messy, and probably horrifying. This isn't a graceful dance of blades. It's a desperate, brutal street fight. A quirky tidbit about this first duel is that some accounts suggest Arima Kihei had publicly posted a challenge. Perhaps tired of your father's reputation, or simply looking for an easy victory. He certainly didn't expect a 13-year-old whirlwind of fury. You stand over his lifeless body, the adrenaline coursing through your veins. The reality of what you've done beginning to sink in. This isn't a game. This is what it means to be a warrior, even a very young one. The smell of fear and something metallic is probably still fresh in the air. Yes, 13. Not exactly the age for a first driving lesson, let alone a life-or-death confrontation. Your opponent is Arima Kihei, a samurai of the Shintaru school, an experienced warrior who, by your own later account, wields a kodachi, a short sword. He's probably a confident, perhaps even arrogant adult who sees you as nothing more than an impertinent child to be easily dispatched. Your childhood isn't filled with toys and gentle lullabies. It's steeped in the harsh realities of a fractured nation where might often makes right. You grow up without a mother, raised by your father, Munisai, a skilled martial artist in his own right, perhaps even a formidable one, though historians still argue about the exact extent of his influence on your early training. He's a man of action, not sentiment, and his lessons are as blunt as a blow from a training stick. You are not an easy child. Okay. By all accounts, you are prone to fits of rage, fiercely independent, and quick to challenge anyone who crosses your path. Imagine yourself as a scrawny, intense boy, already taller than most, with an unruly shock of hair and eyes that miss nothing. And if you're feeling chatty, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are restless, chafing under any form of authority, driven by an inner fire that others might mistake for mere stubbornness. There's a constant, simmering energy within you, a need to test limits, to push boundaries. You probably won't survive this childhood if you don't learn to channel that intensity. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your first exposure to combat isn't a formalized lesson in a dojo. It's a raw, visceral experience. You, however, are anything but easily dispatched. The adrenaline that surged through you during that first duel slowly recedes, leaving behind a chilling cocktail of shock, fear, and a strange, nascent understanding. You've taken a life. At 13. The experience, rather than deterring you, seems to solidify something within your untamed spirit. The structure of a settled life, of apprenticeship or formal service, holds no appeal for you. The established dojos and their rigid adherence to tradition feel stifling. You carry your life in your hands, knowing that any encounter could be your last. Some accounts claim you engaged in over 60 duels before the age of 30, an astonishing number for anyone, let alone a lone wanderer. You are driven by an insatiable need to test yourself, to understand the essence of combat, not just as a physical act, but as a mental and spiritual engagement. Every encounter, every challenge, is a lesson. You are not just fighting to win, you are fighting to learn, to refine, to uncover the deeper truths of the sword. The dust of the road becomes your constant companion, and the distant horizon, always shifting, becomes your guide. There's no camaraderie of a fixed military unit, no lord to offer protection. You are utterly self-reliant. A quirky tidbit about your early wandering years is that you often refuse to bathe or groom yourself, believing that it made you seem less formidable to opponents who might mistake your disheveled appearance for weakness. This isn't just a lack of personal hygiene, it's a deliberate psychological tactic, a form of unconventional warfare even before you formalized your theories. Instead, you are drawn to the path of the Roninna masterless samurai. It's a warrior who wanders the land, seeking challenges, honing his skills, and living by his wits. This mainstream historical fact is central to your legend. Unlike a samurai in service to a lord, a Ronin has no fixed income, no secure position, no social safety net. You live on the edge, reliant on your blade and your reputation. It's a harsh lesson in the true nature of combat, devoid of any romantic notions, and it hardens your resolve. You spend your days walking, the dust of the road, clinging to your simple garments, the soles of your feet growing thick and calloused. Your possessions are few: a katana, a wakizashi, perhaps a sturdy wooden staff, and a few meager coins if you're lucky. Your meals are humble, often just rice and whatever wild greens or fish you can scrounge. You sleep where you can find, shelter under the stars, in abandoned temples, or occasionally. If your reputation precedes you, and a kind soul offers in a peasant's hut, the constant travel, the exposure to the elements, and the perpetual state of vigilance against bandits or rival swordsmen forge your body into a lean, resilient instrument. You realize with stark clarity that survival in this chaotic world demands not just skill, but an absolute willingness to act, to push beyond the limits of what others might consider acceptable. Your youth following this initial brutal encounter is marked by a profound restlessness. Imagine the sheer physical demands of this life. The psychological landscape of a Ronin is equally challenging. You are an outsider, viewed with suspicion by villagers, and often disdained by samurai in service. Historians still argue about the exact route and timeline of your early wanderings, and how many duels you truly fought during this period. Your wandering path eventually leads you to the ancient capital of Kyoto, a city steeped in history, culture, and, crucially for you, the vibrant heart of many established martial arts schools. This isn't just another village. It's a place where reputations are made and broken, where the old guard fiercely protects its traditions. They embodied tradition, formality, and a precise, almost ritualistic approach to swordsmanship. A young Ronin, barely out of his teens, walks into the most renowned dojo in the capital and demands to duel its headmaster. It's an act that is either supreme arrogance or supreme confidence, and in your case, it's a healthy dose of both. Instead of a sharp katana, you faced Tsuyuro with a wooden sword, a bakken. Imagine the insult. To face a renowned master with a practice weapon, it's a supreme act of provocation, almost daring him to take you seriously. Tsuyuro, accustomed to the formality of duels, likely felt his honor questioned. The fight is quick. You launch an unexpected attack, perhaps aiming for the shoulder or arm, not a fatal blow, but one that incapacitates and humiliates him. You strike him down, breaking his arm or shoulder, leaving him defeated and utterly disgraced. The refined master, known for his elegant technique, is bested by a scruffy youth wielding a piece of wood. The dojo, the city, and eventually all of Japan will soon hear of this audacious victory. Your name, Musashi, is beginning to spread, not just as a warrior, but as an unpredictable, formidable force. You aren't interested in formal challenges or polite exchanges. You're interested in testing your radical, self-taught methods against the most established authority. This isn't just about winning a fight. It's about proving your evolving philosophy of combat, a philosophy that prioritizes raw effectiveness over rigid form. Their dojo is bustling, filled with students diligently practicing their forms, their movements graceful and refined. You, with your unkempt appearance and blunt, no-nonsense approach to combat, are an anomaly, a wild card in their meticulously ordered world. And you are about to challenge it all. And where a young, unconventional Ronin like yourself is bound to stir up trouble. You are drawn here inevitably by the presence of the Yoshioka school, a mainstream historical fact. The chosen location is Randaji Temple in Rakahoku, a significant place that would lend an air of gravity to the confrontation. You arrive late, perhaps deliberately, to throw your opponent off balance, a psychological tactic that will become a hallmark of your style. This isn't just about showing disrespect, it's about disrupting your opponent's expectations, forcing them to adapt to your rhythm, not theirs. Historians still argue whether your tardiness was a calculated strategy or simply a reflection of your inherent disregard for formality. But its effect was undeniable. In one of the most prestigious and respected sword schools in Japan at the time, the Yoshioka family had served as sword instructors to the Ashikaga shoguns for generations, their lineage tracing back to the founder of the Kenjutsu style, Kenpo. Imagine the audacity of it. The first of your famous duels against the Yoshioka occurs against Yoshioka Sayuro, the family head. A quirky tidbit about this initial encounter is the weapon you chose. The news of Sechiro Yoshioka's defeat at your hands spreads like wildfire through Kyoto, igniting a furious mix of outrage and disbelief within the established martial arts world. You didn't just win, you humiliated the head of the most prestigious sword school in the capital, breaking his arm and shattering his reputation with a bakken. Their prestige, their very livelihood, depends on restoring their name. This particular spot suggests a duel where speed and linear movement might be key. However, approach this duel with the same unconventional mindset. The Yoshioka, once seemingly invincible, have now suffered 2 humiliating defeats at the hands of one man. Their pride is wounded, their reputation in tatters. Historians still argue whether your victories were solely due to your superior skill, or if your psychological tactics and unconventional approach played an equally significant role in unsettling your opponents. But for you, the victory confirms your evolving understanding of combat. It's not just about mastering forms, but mastering the moment, the opponent's mind, and the chaotic reality of a real fight. You stand victorious once more, leaving behind a trail of shattered honor and a burgeoning legend. You arrive late, just as you did before, perhaps even later this time, pushing Denshichiro's patience to its breaking point. This isn't just a disrespectful habit. It's a calculated psychological tactic. The longer he waits, the more his frustration and anger build, making him less composed, less analytical. He's probably pacing, muttering, his mind already half lost in rage. It falls to Yoshioka Denshichiro, Sejuro's younger brother and the new head of the school, to challenge you. Iloa dioa dioa dioa. The account suggests that Denshichiro comes prepared, perhaps with a longer, more specialized weapon, like a kusarigama, hoping to counter your close-quarters grappling or wooden sword techniques. A quirky tidbit is that some versions of the story suggest you arrive specifically with a bakken once more, further emphasizing your disdain for conventional steel, while others say you used a regular sword. Regardless of the exact weapon, your approach is direct and overwhelming. You strike him down quickly, delivering a fatal blow. This isn't a prolonged exchange of artful parries. It's a decisive, brutal end. You are simply too fast, too unpredictable, too utterly focused on the kill. This is a mainstream historical fact, the second in your series of duels against the powerful Yoshioka clan. Denshichiro is a formidable swordsman in his own right, perhaps even more disciplined than his elder brother, and certainly driven by a burning desire for vengeance and the restoration of his family's honor. This isn't just about a duel. It's about a direct challenge to the very foundation of traditional dojo authority and the meticulous, formalized training they champion. You, the wild Ronin, have scoffed at their sacred forms and emerged victorious. The Yoshioka clan, steeped in generations of honor and pride, cannot let this insult stand. The setting for this confrontation is once again a significant location. This time outside the Sanjisangan-do, a famous Buddhist temple in Kyoto known for its long, narrow hall. When you finally arrive, you quickly move to engage. The defeat of Denshichiro sends another shockwave through Kyoto. The defeat of Denshichiro Yoshioka is not just another notch on your belt. It's a direct blow to the very heart of the Yoshioka clan's honor. 2 brothers, both heads of the revered school, have fallen before your unconventional techniques and a single wooden sword. The family's prestige, built over generations as sword instructors to the shogun, is now in tatters. They cannot endure such humiliation. Your years as a wandering Ronin have honed your instincts, making you acutely sensitive to danger, always anticipating your opponent's next move, even before they make it. As you approach the designated duel site, something feels off. You are outnumbered, perhaps by scores of men, all intent on your death. You draw both your swords, engaging in your now famous Knighten Ichiraier style, fighting method you've been developing in secret, one that allows you to wield both a katana and a wakizashi simultaneously. You move like a whirlwind, deflecting attacks, striking at vulnerable points, using the environment to your advantage. The young Matashachiro, caught in the chaos of his own family's treachery, is likely overwhelmed, a pawn in a deadly game. You cut through their ranks, leaving a trail of fallen bodies, testament to your unparalleled skill and your ruthless efficiency. You disappear into the shadows as quickly as you appeared, leaving the shattered remnants of the Yoshioka clan to mourn their dead in the final. This moment solidifies your reputation not just as a duelist, but as a survivor, a master of strategy both on and off the field of combat. The silence is too profound, the air too still. You scan the shadows, your senses stretched to their limit. You perceive the subtle glint of steel, the muffled shuffle of feet, the telltale signs of an ambush. Historians still argue whether your foresight was a result of supernatural intuition, or simply the culmination of years of hypervigilant survival instincts, but your actions suggest a keen awareness. Their response is desperate, in a pivotal moment in your legend. They decide to send not another master, but Yoshioka Matashachiro, the youngest son of the family, a boy barely in his teens, to challenge you. This is a mainstream historical fact, and it speaks volumes about their desperate pride and utter disregard for the child's life. This is no ordinary duel. The clan knows they cannot defeat you in a fair fight. Instead, they devise a treacherous ambush, aiming to overwhelm you with sheer numbers. You arrive significantly earlier than the agreed-upon time, perhaps even hours before, taking the clan by surprise. This audacious move completely disrupts their carefully laid plans. As you move through the pine grove, you quickly locate the hidden swordsmen, dozens of them, armed with bows, spears, and swords, lying in wait to overwhelm the child Matashichiro's opponent. The irony is almost comical. They expect you to walk into a trap, and instead, you walk into their preparations before they're ready. The chosen location is a pine grove at Ichijoji Temple, a secluded spot on the outskirts of Kyoto, perfect for their nefarious plan. You are by now acutely aware of the animosity you've stirred. You've challenged the sacred traditions, and they will stop at nothing to eliminate you. The stakes are higher than ever, for you realize this is less a duel and more an execution attempt. You, however, are not easily surprised. A quirky tidbit about this famous encounter is that instead of waiting for the ambush to spring, you preempt it. What follows is not a duel, but a desperate fight for your life against overwhelming odds. The pine grove at Ichijoji is now a grim testament to your prowess and the Yoshioka clan's fatal miscalculation. You walk away from the carnage, not unscathed, but victorious, leaving behind the shattered remains of a once proud lineage. The shame of their defeat, culminating in a cowardly ambush that backfired spectacularly, ensures that the Yoshioka school, a pillar of traditional swordsmanship, will never fully recover. Two titans of the sword, both unconventional in their own ways, are destined to meet. While Kagero and the officials wait impatiently on the island, the anticipation of the duel, the weight of your legend, and the reputation of your formidable opponent settle upon you. This isn't just another fight, it's the fight, the culmination of your wandering life, a duel that will forever define your legacy. The wooden sword you carry, already taking shape from a boat, or feels surprisingly right in your hands. You are still sleeping or performing your daily meditations. You eventually board a small boat, accompanied by a few witnesses, and it's on this brief journey across the water that you begin to prepare your mind and your weapon. Historians still argue whether your tardiness was, yet again, a calculated psychological ploy to unnerve Kojiro, or if it reflected your more philosophical approach to life, unconcerned with conventional punctuality. Regardless, it was a move designed to gain a psychological edge. Forcing your opponent to dwell in anxious anticipation, a challenge is issued, accepted, in the remote Ganru Island. A small, desolate strip of land off the coast of Buzan Province is chosen as the battleground. It's a perfect stage for a climactic showdown, isolated and dramatic, ensuring no interference and allowing the legend to unfold without interruption. You begin your journey to the island, perhaps by foot and then by boat. The gentle rocking of the vessel a stark contrast to the storm of anticipation building within you. You, on the other hand, emerge from this brutal encounter not just as a survivor, but as a legend in the making, your name whispered with a mixture of fear and awe across the land. The path of dueling, however, has reached a crescendo with the Yoshioka. You've tested your unconventional methods against the very best of the traditional schools, and your victories have proven your radical philosophy of combat. The thrill of these life-or-death encounters, however, begins to subtly shift, hinting at a deeper quest for understanding that lies beyond mere physical supremacy. Your journey continues, still as a Ronin, but with a growing sense of purpose beyond simply seeking out challengers. You are drawn by a different kind of reputation now, one that speaks of ultimate mastery. This brings you to one of the most anticipated and well-documented duels in your life, the confrontation with Sasaki Kajiro. This is a mainstream historical fact, perhaps the most famous and iconic duel in all of Japanese history, one that cemented your place in legend. Kojiro, known as the Demon of the Western Provinces, or Ganryu Kojiro, is a formidable rival, renowned for his exceptional skill with the nodachi, an extra-long katana known as the drying pole sword, and his swallow-cut technique, lightning-fast, impossible to-parry strike. Imagine the build-up to this duel. The whispers travel across the land, reaching your ears. A quirky tidbit about this journey to Ganryu Island is your seemingly deliberate delay. On the morning of the duel, as the boat glides across the water, the small boat carrying you and a few eager witnesses cuts through the gentle waves. Steadily approaching the shore of Ganryu Island, the air is thick with anticipation, a heavy silence broken only by the lapping of water against the hull and the rhythmic creak of the oars. As the boat draws closer, you can make out the figure of Sasaki Kajiro on the beach, already waiting. He's dressed impeccably, his long nodachi, his signature drying pole sword, gleaming at his side. His nodachi is exceptionally long, giving him a reach advantage that most opponents would find insurmountable. Kojiro likely unleashes his devastating swallow cut, a move he's practiced thousands of times, one that has brought countless opponents to their knees. But your wooden sword, longer than a conventional katana, allows you to counter his reach. You parry, or perhaps simply evade, and then, in one swift, decisive motion, you deliver a blow to his head or skull. It's a single, powerful strike, ending the duel almost as quickly as it began. Kojiro falls, mortally wounded, defeated by a simple piece of wood wielded by a master who understood the fluid nature of combat far beyond the confines of any formal style. The waves continued to lap at the shore, indifferent to the legend just forged. He probably anticipates a direct, conventional engagement. But you have no interest in playing by his rules. Your strategy is already formed, honed by years of unorthodox combat and a deep understanding of human psychology. He appears calm, perhaps even slightly impatient, the embodiment of a proud, confident master. This is the moment, the ultimate test. You, however, are not making it easy for him. A quirky tidbit about this famous encounter, one that has been recounted in countless tales, is that as the boat nears the island, you aren't engaging in last-minute stretches or mental visualizations. Instead, you are taking a piece of a spare boater and with a small knife or simply your hands, carving it into a crude, elongated wooden sword. Imagine the scene. The legendary swordsman, just moments before the duel of his life, crafting his weapon on the fly. It's a testament to your adaptability, your focus on practical utility over ceremonial precision, and another psychological tactic designed to unnerve your opponent. What kind of warrior brings a woodener to a sword fight? You do? As you step onto the sand, Kojiro likely looks at you, perhaps with a flicker of disdain or confusion at your disheveled appearance and your unconventional weapon. He's probably expecting a formal bow, a polite exchange of challenges. Instead, you might saunter casually, perhaps even turn your back to him briefly, further disrupting his expectations and subtly suggesting a lack of concern. This deliberate disrespect is a mainstream historical fact of your behavior in duels, a way to seize the psychological initiative even before swords are drawn. You aim to make your opponent angry, to cloud their judgment, to pull them out of their rigid forms and into your chaotic, unpredictable world. Historians still argue whether this was calculated arrogance or simply your natural, unvarnished personality, but its effectiveness is undisputed. Kojiro, known for his Subam Gashia or swallow cut, a lightning-fast, seemingly impossible counterstrike that mimics a swallow's flight, is poised and ready. The duel begins. You might charge directly at him, feinting, moving in ways that are deliberately unreadable. The sound of Kojiro Sasaki's body hitting the sand of Ganru Island echoes in the sudden, profound silence. You stand over him, the crude wooden oar, now splintered and stained, still in your hand. The few witnesses, perhaps officials and Kojiro's students, are stunned into stillness, processing the impossible. The legendary demon of the western provinces, defeated by a ronin wielding a piece of boatwood. The breeze off the sea feels different now, carrying not just the tang of salt, but the weight of a monumental victory. You continue to wander, but now perhaps with a different intent, observing the world, reflecting on the principles that guided your duels. You are less concerned with reputation and more with refinement. Your clothing remains simple, your appearance perhaps still unkempt, but the wild energy is now channeled into observation and thought, rather than immediate confrontation. You're no longer just seeking fights, you're seeking wisdom. This moment, this ultimate clash, marks a definitive turning point in your life. The scattered remains of Kojiro's pride in life are left behind. You board the boat once more, the wooden oar sword clutched in your hand, a silent trophy of a battle that transcends mere physical combat. The journey back to the mainland is quieter, perhaps filled with your own thoughts as you begin to contemplate a new phase of your solitary path. One that would delve into the deeper principles of strategy, philosophy, and the essence of existence itself. The fighting may be winding down, but the learning has only just begun. While the duel with Kojiro is undeniably your most famous and often romanticized encounter, its brutal finality seems to extinguish something within you, a relentless drive for pure combat. This is a mainstream historical fact. After Ganru Island, you largely ceased to engage in formal duels to the death. You've faced death countless times, dispensed it with ruthless efficiency, emerged not just alive, but undeniably superior. But what now? It's a path of the wandering duelist, once your sole purpose begins to feel empty, a means to an end that you've now reached. Your focus begins to shift from merely mastering the blade to mastering the self, from outer conquest to inner understanding. Historians still argue whether this shift was a conscious, a philosophical decision from the outset, or a gradual evolution brought on by the exhaustion and profound insights gained from constant combat. Regardless, the way you approach life and your martial art transforms. It's not that you've run out of opponents, it's that you've seemingly proven all you need to prove in the realm of direct life or death confrontation. The lessons have been learned, the techniques refined, and the understanding of combated psychological dimensions. Its brutal simplicity has reached a level where further duels offer diminishing returns. Imagine the quiet introspection that follows. The exhilaration of victory might be fleeting, replaced by a deeper sense of contemplation. A quirky tidbit that hints at this transition is your often recounted disregard for material possessions, or even a fixed home. The sun begins to set, casting long shadows across Ganru Island, painting the scene in hues of orange and purple. With the ultimate test on Ganru Island behind you, the thrill of dueling, once a consuming fire, now settles into a quiet embers. The path you've walked, carved by steel and sharpened by conflict, begins to widen, revealing new horizons beyond mere physical confrontation. Your journey now takes a distinct turn towards deeper introspection and philosophical exploration. You practice zazen, seated meditation for hours, focusing on your breath, observing your thoughts without judgment. This isn't easy for a man of your intense, restless nature. You might spend hours observing the flight of a bird, the growth of a plant, or the flow of water in a stream. These observations are not mere diversions. They become metaphors for your martial arts philosophy. The effortless grace of nature, its inherent efficiency, begins to inform your understanding of movement, timing, and strategy. You see the principles of combat mirrored in the natural world, a subtle yet profound revelation. This period of withdrawal isn't about escaping the world. It's about understanding it on a more fundamental level, preparing you for a new kind of engagement. One that would manifest not just through the sword, but through the brush and the pen. Your mind, once focused solely on survival, now seeks enlightenment. Your mind, accustomed to rapid calculation and decisive action, resists the quiet. It races, replaying past duels, formulating strategies, but you learn to gently guide it back to the present moment, back to the breath. This rigorous mental training is just as demanding as any physical regimen, perhaps even more so, as it confronts the very nature of your own ego and aggression. You seek not just to understand the sword, but to understand the fundamental principles that govern all conflict, all life. This new quest leads you naturally to the quiet solitude of Zen retreat. Imagine yourself finding refuge in a secluded mountain hermitage or a humble temple, as far removed from the clamor of cities and the whispers of your growing legend. This is a mainstream historical fact. Many samurai, particularly Ronin, would engage in periods of intense spiritual practice, often embracing Zen Buddhism to find inner peace, clarity, and a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. Here, surrounded by the rustling of leaves and the gentle murmur of a distant stream, you exchange the clang of steel for the quiet discipline of meditation. Imagine sitting for hours, contemplating a phrase like, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" It sounds absurd, perhaps even frustratingly pointless to a man used to direct pragmatic action. But you understand that these seemingly nonsensical questions are meant to push your mind beyond logical bounds, opening it to new perspectives. Historians still argue about the precise depth of your formal Zen practice and its direct influence on your later philosophy. But the general shift towards a more contemplative life is undeniable. Your days are now structured not by the pursuit of opponents, but by the pursuit of stillness. You also engage in koan study, grappling with paradoxical riddles designed to shatter conventional thought and lead to sudden enlightenment. A quirky tidbit during this period of introspection is your increasing appreciation for natural simplicity. The quiet solitude of your Zen retreat, the deliberate stillness of meditation, slowly begins to transform you. The restless energy that once drove you to seek out duels now finds new, unexpected outlets. You begin to channel your intense focus and profound understanding of natural principles into the arts. This shift towards creative expression, particularly painting and calligraphy, is a mainstream historical fact and a crucial development in your legend. You are not merely picking up a brush as a casual hobby. You are applying the very same principles of discipline, balance, and spontaneous action that govern your swordsmanship. You might engage in sculpture, using wood or clay, finding the tactile experience another way to express the principles of form and function. This period of artistic exploration is a testament to your holistic approach to life. You are not just a warrior. You are a philosopher, a scholar, and an artist, all unified by an unwavering commitment to mastering your craft and understanding the deeper truths of existence. The fluidity of ink on paper begins to mirror the fluidity of your own evolving understanding of the world, preparing you for the next stage of your journey. Imagine yourself seated before a blank scroll, a brush in hand, the ink rich and dark. This is a different kind of battlefield, one where your opponent is the empty space and your weapon is the delicate brush. These aren't just pretty pictures. They're infused with a stark, powerful simplicity, echoing the minimalist aesthetic of Zen. Your calligraphy, too, is bold and unadorned, each character possessing a raw energy that distinguishes it from the more refined, scholarly styles of the time. A quirky tidbit about your artistic style is your preference for monochromatic ink-wash painting. You achieve a surprising range of tones and textures using only black ink diluted with water, demonstrating mastery over subtlety and nuance, much like your ability to discern an opponent's weakness with a mere glance. Your strokes are not tentative. They are decisive, embodying the concept of Iken Hisatsuwan's strike, one kill applied to ink on paper. Every line, every curve, is a reflection of your inner state, a testament to years of cultivating clarity of mind and unwavering focus. There's no room for hesitation, no opportunity for second guesses once the ink touches the paper, much like a sword stroke. Your paintings often depict natural subjects, birds, plants, or figures. This artistic practice is not separate from your martial path. It is an extension of it. The discipline of holding the brush, of controlling your breath and mind, directly reinforces your combat principles. You learn about the importance of negative space, of the void, much as you learn about creating openings in an opponent's defense. You understand how a single, powerful stroke can convey immense meaning, just as a single, decisive blow can end a duel. Historians still argue about the precise dates and volume of your artistic output, and whether your talent was innate or primarily a product of your intense self-taught discipline. Regardless, your surviving artworks reveal a profound sensibility. Beyond painting and calligraphy, your pursuit of varied disciplines extends to other areas. The quiet discipline of the brush and the stillness of meditation slowly deepen your understanding of fundamental principles. Once confined to the sword, expands to encompass a broader understanding of harmony, presence, and focus.
Oh.
This leads you naturally to delve into the intricate world of the tea ceremony. You learn to control your breath, to quiet your internal chatter, and to fully immerse yourself in the present moment. This philosophy teaches that every gathering, particularly a tea ceremony, should be cherished as a unique moment that will never recur. See how correct posture allows for effortless movement, how a calm mind leads to clear perception. The rhythmic process, the control over minute details, strengthens your internal discipline. You're not just drinking tea. You're engaging in a profound spiritual exercise that refines your senses and sharpens your focus, preparing you for the next, more structured phase of your life where you will attempt to pass on the accumulated wisdom of your journeys. The quiet clinking of the tea bowl becomes another lesson, just as potent as the clang of steel. Imagine applying this to your duels. Each encounter, even with a seemingly lesser opponent, becomes a singular, unrepeatable event demanding your absolute undivided attention. In the tea ceremony, this translates to treating each guest in each moment with profound respect and presence. The smallest details become paramount. The angle of the bowl, the sound of the water, the texture of the tea whisk. You realize that the same focus required to parry a deadly sword stroke is needed to perfectly whisk a bowl of tea. Historians still argue about the precise extent of your involvement in the formal tea ceremony, and whether you embraced its aesthetic fully or simply extracted its core principles of disciplined focus. Regardless, your engagement reflects a broader search for holistic mastery. This is a mainstream historical fact. The Chanawu, or Japanese tea ceremony, was not just a social event, but a profound aesthetic and spiritual practice, particularly among the samurai class, heavily influenced by Zen Buddhism. Imagine yourself in a small, meticulously designed tea room, the air subtly scented with incense and the faint aroma of freshly whisked matcha. Every movement is precise, deliberate, and imbued with meaning. The quiet ritual of heating the water, purifying the utensils, whisking the tea, and serving it. Light demands absolute presence of mind and perfect execution. There's no room for distraction, no allowance for hurried movements. Each gesture is a meditation in itself, a reflection of the deep principles of harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. For a man whose life has been defined by speed and sudden action, the deliberate slowness and graceful precision of the tea ceremony offers a unique challenge. A quirky tidbit about the tea ceremony is the concept of ichigo ichi, which translates roughly to one time, one meeting. Through the meticulous movements of the tea ceremony, you begin to formalize your understanding of posture and balance, not just for combat, but for all actions. Your relentless pursuit of mastery, refined through meditation, art, the subtle discipline of the tea ceremony, eventually leads you away from isolated hermitages and back towards the structured world. Though you are a ronin, a masterless samurai, your growing reputation as a swordsman, strategist, and now even an artist makes you a valuable asset. It's a stark contrast to the rough, simple life you've known as a wandering duelist. Inside, life is ordered, formal, and filled with a different kind of discipline. Even for a respected figure like yourself, is the sheer formality and rigid etiquette. Accustomed to the freedom of the road, you now navigate a world of strict hierarchies, elaborate rituals, and subtle social cues. Every gesture, every word, every piece of clothing has significance. It's a different kind of battlefield, where missteps are not fatal to the body, but certainly to one's reputation and standing. You, with your unconventional ways, probably find this aspect of castle life both fascinating and occasionally exasperating, a true test of your adaptability beyond the physical. You are no longer solely focused on your own survival. You are now part of a larger machine, contributing your unique skills to the security and prestige of a powerful clan. You aren't just a castle guest, you're an active participant. You study the castle's defenses, the flow of its inhabitants, the logistics of its supplies. You see the principles of movement and positioning, which you honed in single combat, playing out on a much larger scale. The quiet contemplation of your hermitage now merges with the practical realities of command and strategy. This patronage allows you the luxury of time and resources to delve deeper into the theoretical underpinnings of your martial art, preparing you for the great work that will define your later years, translating your unique experiences into universal principles, making your insights accessible to those who seek true mastery. This isn't about dueling in the streets, but about contributing to grander strategy, advising on military matters, and perhaps even training the Lord's retainers. This attracts the attention of various lords, and you find yourself, for a time, accepting patronage within the walls of a grand stronghold, like Himeji Castle. This is a mainstream historical fact, as you spent a period of your life in the service of the powerful Honda family, who held significant influence in the region. Imagine stepping through the massive gates of Himeji Castle, its gleaming white walls and intricate roof lines rising majestically against the sky. Your role within the castle walls is multifaceted. You might be involved in overseeing the training of samurai, imparting your practical, battle-tested wisdom to those accustomed to more rigid forms. You observe the daily workings of a feudal domain, gaining insights into governance, logistics, and the broader political landscape of Japan. This period provides you with a stable base, allowing you to further develop your theories of strategy, moving beyond individual combat to the larger scale of warfare. Historians still argue about the precise nature and duration of your service at Himeji and other castles, but it's clear these periods provided crucial opportunities for reflection and the formalization of your insights. A quirky tidbit about life in a castle during this time. Life within the formidable walls of Himeji Castle, or similar domains, offers you a rare opportunity. Stability. No longer a restless wanderer, you can now dedicate sustained thought to formalizing the scattered insights, gleaned from decades of duels and introspection. You're dissecting the principles of timing, positioning, and psychological warfare that won you countless duels, and applying them to larger-scale military engagements. You understand that the same fluidity and adaptability required to defeat a single opponent are even more vital when commanding an army. You think about the empty spaces on a battlefield, the unexpected angles, the power of deception and surprise. See the parallels between a small skirmish and a large siege? The need for good intelligence, the importance of seizing the initiative, the psychological impact of a decisive strike. This period allows you to transition from being merely a supreme fighter to a profound thinker on the nature of conflict itself. You are not just teaching how to wield a sword. You are teaching how to wield the mind, how to understand the ebb and flow of any competitive situation. Your insights during these relatively stable years will form the backbone of the timeless wisdom you redestined to share. This period is crucial for the development of your unique approach to combat and generalship, moving beyond mere technique to a profound understanding of tactics and strategy. Consider the terrain, the weather, the emotional state of the combatants. You also emphasize simplicity and directness, cutting through unnecessary complexity to get to the core of effective action. This isn't about memorizing rigid formations. It's about understanding the underlying dynamics of conflict. Historians still argue about the extent of your actual battlefield command experience versus your theoretical insights. But your ability to translate individual combat principles to grand strategy is widely recognized. This is a mainstream historical fact. Your later writings, particularly the Book of Five Rings, are a distillation of these principles, honed during a period of more settled reflection. Imagine yourself no longer just practicing sword forms, but drawing diagrams, contemplating troop movements, and analyzing hypothetical battles. You begin to articulate concepts that will become hallmarks of your philosophy, the importance of knowing yourself and your opponent, not just physically, but psychologically. A quirky tidbit that emerges from this period is your emphasis on the way of two swords, or knighten, each a rear, not just as a fighting technique, but as a strategic concept. While you famously use two swords in duels, You also saw it as a metaphor for using all available resources effectively. It's about leveraging every advantage, adapting to circumstances, and not limiting yourself to conventional approaches. Imagine advising a general, telling him to consider using his left hand as adeptly as his right, not just physically, but in his thinking and planning. It's a radical idea for a world often bound by tradition. You spend hours observing the castle guards, discussing strategy with senior retainers, perhaps even sketching out battle plans on paper. Your reputation as a master swordsman, strategist, and unconventional thinker spreads far beyond the castle walls. It's an interesting phenomenon, a ronin, a man without a fixed lord, who becomes sought after not just for his martial prowess, but for his profound insights. They are not coming for rigid forms or rote memorization. They are coming for your wisdom, for the practical, battle-tested principles that allowed you to defeat all challengers. They see in you something authentic and effective, a stark contrast to the often stifling traditional schools they might have left behind. They sit and listen intently as you explain, perhaps with a quiet intensity, the core tenets of your martial philosophy, the knight in each arrear. As you articulate your principles to others, you gain a deeper clarity yourself. Explaining complex ideas forces you to distill them to their essence, to find the simplest, most direct expression. You might demonstrate techniques not as flashy displays, but as practical applications, showing how a subtle shift in posture, a momentary lapse in focus, or an unexpected angle can change the outcome of a confrontation. You emphasize the importance of adaptability, of understanding the spirit of the fight rather than just the form. This leads to a new phase of your life. You begin to attract disciples, eager to learn directly from you. You are no longer just a solitary warrior. You are becoming a fountain of wisdom, sharing insights that transcend the battlefield and apply to all aspects of life. The seeds of the Book of Five Rings are being sown, cultivated by your experiences and nurtured by the eager minds of those who seek to learn from the unrivaled master. This is a mainstream historical fact, as you accumulated a significant number of students who wish to grasp the essence of your unique way. Imagine the scene. Students, perhaps young samurai, aspiring ronin, or even curious scholars, gather around you. Your teaching style is probably far from conventional. You wouldn't waste time on flowery language or overly complex theoretical constructs. Instead, you'd be direct, practical, and often challenging. Anyone with genuine dedication and a sincere desire to learn the way could theoretically become your student. This openness reflects your own ronin spirit, a disregard for rigid social strata. When it comes to the pursuit of mastery, you're interested in their potential, not their pedigree. Historians still argue about the exact size and composition of your student body at various points in your life, but it's clear you cultivated a dedicated following. You might use analogies from nature, from everyday life, to illustrate profound principles of combat and strategy. You'd likely emphasize experiential learning, encouraging your students to observe, to experiment, and to discover truths for themselves, rather than simply accepting your word. This is a departure from the typical dojo system, where the master's word is law, and techniques are meticulously copied. A quirky tidbit about your disciples is their varied backgrounds. While many might be samurai, you are not exclusive in your teaching. This period of teaching is also a period of further refinement for you. As your disciples disperse, taking your teachings with them, your influence begins to spread in a new way. Not through the sharp edge of a sword, but through the sharp edge of your intellect. As your teachings spread and your disciples disperse, you find yourself increasingly drawn back to the contemplative life, but with a new depth of understanding. Your years of wandering, dueling, and now teaching have solidified a profound philosophy that extends far beyond the battlefield. You are distilling everything you've learned about self-reliance, discipline, and facing reality head-on. The principles you formulate are stark, uncompromising, and deeply personal. They speak to a life lived without attachment, without fear, and with an unwavering commitment to truth, however harsh it may be. You are teaching how to find strength within, independent of external circumstances or opinions. The calm clarity that allowed you to defeat a dozen swordsmen in a pine grove, or to best Kujiro with a wooden oar, is the same clarity you now apply to the everyday choices of existence. Every principle in the Dakad is a distilled lesson from your unique, often solitary journey. It's a guide to walking through life with the same unwavering focus and decisive action that you brought to every duel, a testament to a life lived fully, intentionally, and on your own terms. You are stripping away all illusions, all societal expectations, to arrive at the core of what it means to be a truly independent and self-sufficient individual. You begin to articulate your core principles, not just for others. They emphasize accepting everything just as it is, without illusion, never seeking pleasure for its own sake. It's not regretting anything you have done, never being jealous. It's never allowing yourself to be saddened by separation, not holding grudges, and never clinging to anything. A quirky tidbit about the Dakad is its raw, almost brutal honesty. There's no gentle comforting here, no flowery language. It's direct, actionable advice forged in the crucible of countless life-or-death encounters. It reflects a stoic, almost ascetic mindset, honed by a life of wandering and constant self-assessment. But for yourself, crystallizing the essence of your independent spirit into what you later call the way of walking alone. This is a mainstream historical fact, a concise 21-precept guide that you penned shortly before your death, a summation of your life's wisdom. Imagine yourself in quiet solitude once more, perhaps in a simple hut or a secluded cave, reflecting on the sum of your experiences. These precepts aren't about swordsmanship techniques, though they certainly inform them. They're about life itself. This philosophy is a stark counterpoint to the feudal system, where individuals are bound by duty, loyalty, and rigid social structures. You, the perpetual Ronin, embody ultimate freedom. And the Dakad is your blueprint for achieving it, not through rebellion, but through internal detachment. Historians still argue whether the Dakad was intended as a universal guide or simply a personal memoir of your final thoughts. But its enduring appeal lies in its timeless advice on self-mastery and resilience. You are not advocating for a life of isolation or selfishness, but for a life lived with complete integrity and self-awareness. As your focus shifts from active dueling to profound introspection and the formalization of your philosophy, you seek a final, undisturbed haven where you can fully dedicate yourself to your intellectual legacy. This journey leads you to the far western reaches of Japan, to the Kumamoto domain, a place that would become synonymous with your twilight years. You are no longer seeking the clang of steel in a crowded city square. You are seeking the quiet rhythm of nature, the perfect environment for deep thought and profound writing. Specifically, you spend your final years in the Rigondo Cave on Mount Kinpu. Imagine the cool, damp air within the cave, the faint echo of your own breath, the flickering light of a single lamp or candle illuminating your writing. Every stroke of your brush, every character you meticulously ink onto the scroll, is imbued with the weight of your experiences, the wisdom gained from countless life-or-death encounters and years of solitary contemplation. The quiet solitude of the cave becomes your final dojo, and the blank scrolls your final greatest opponent. The insights that emerge from this period will transcend your time, influencing generations of warriors, strategists, and thinkers, long after your physical body has returned to the earth. You are now truly becoming eternal. It's a minimalist existence, stripped of all distractions, allowing you to focus completely on distilling your vast experience into coherent wisdom. This self-imposed austerity, far from being a hardship, is a deliberate choice, a final purification before embarking on your most important creation. The Hosokawa family, who recognized your unparalleled wisdom, provides you with a simple yet sufficient dwelling, allowing you the peace and resources to complete your life's work. Despite your advanced age and failing health, you are tirelessly writing, pouring decades of accumulated knowledge onto paper. You probably endure cramped conditions, perhaps the persistent dampness, all for the sake of articulating your philosophy. This single-minded focus reflects the same intensity you brought to your duels, now channeled into intellectual creation. Historians still argue about the exact duration of your stay in Rigondo Cave, but it's universally acknowledged as the birthplace of your magnum opus. This patronage is not about military service, but about intellectual and spiritual support for a living legend. This is a mainstream historical fact. You eventually settled here. Under the patronage of the Hosokawa family, a powerful daimyo clan, who provided you with a quiet retreat. Imagine the sense of arrival as you reach Kumamoto. It's a region of natural beauty with mountains and forests offering the seclusion you now crave. Your chosen refuge is often depicted as a simple cave or hermitage, reflecting your lifelong preference for austerity and connection with nature. A quirky tidbit about your time in the Rigondo Cave is the sheer dedication to your work. You are not merely writing a book. You are attempting to encapsulate the very essence of your way, your unique approach to strategy, combat, and life itself. Within the quiet confines of Rigondo Cave, surrounded by the echoes of your own thoughts, you continue your rigorous intellectual output. By this point, you are reaching an advanced age, a testament to your hardiness and skill in a brutal era. You are not only in your twilight years, but approaching 80 years old, a remarkable feat for anyone living in 17th century Japan. This is a mainstream historical fact. Your most famous work, The Book of Five Rings, was completed shortly before your death at this venerable age. You've witnessed the rise and fall of clans, the shift of political power, and the evolution of martial arts. You've seen firsthand the impermanence of all things and the enduring nature of fundamental principles. Every scar in your body tells a story. Every ache in your bones is a reminder of a lesson learned the hard way. As you pick up your brush once more, you're 80-year-old and steady, despite the weariness, you know that this final act of creation is the culmination of everything you are, everything you have learned, and everything you wish to impart to those who will come after you. Your legacy is not just in the duels you won, but in the wisdom you will leave behind. Imagine your body at this stage of life. The muscles that once moved with lightning speed are now stiff with age. A childhood duel at 13, countless challenges met and overcome. The humiliation of prestigious schools, the legendary defeat of Kojiro Sasaki. You've seen war, served lords, wandered the land as a ronin, and found enlightenment in art and meditation. The sheer volume of experience, the tapestry of violence, philosophy, and solitude that defines your existence is immense. This long life, endured through constant change and upheaval, gives your insights a weight and authenticity that no armchair philosopher could ever claim. The eyes that once spotted the subtlest opening in an opponent's guard might now be a little dimmer. The joints that effortlessly executed a powerful strike now ache with the damp cold of the cave. Yet, your mind, that formidable instrument honed through a lifetime of relentless self-assessment and practical application, remains as sharp and incisive as ever. Your spirit, the wild, untamed fire that drove you from a young age, still burns brightly, now channeled entirely into the act of creation. You reflect on a life that few could ever conceive. A quirky tidbit about your old age is that despite your physical decline, your legendary status meant you were still treated with immense respect and awe. Visitors, some seeking your wisdom, others merely wanting a glimpse of the living legend, would sometimes make the arduous journey to your remote cave. You likely received them with a characteristic mix of directness and disinterest in superficial formalities, valuing sincerity above all else. Historians still debate the extent to which you remained physically capable of demonstrating your martial art in your final years, or if your teaching was purely theoretical and philosophical. But the power of your presence, even as an old man, would have been undeniable. This long life has provided you with a unique perspective. With the wisdom of 80 years now flowing through your mind and the quiet solitude of Rigondo Cave as your sanctuary, you embark on the monumental task that will solidify your legacy for centuries to come. You begin to write the Book of Five Rings, your seminal work on strategy, martial arts, and life itself. This is a mainstream historical fact, the culmination of your life's experiences transcribed onto scrolls in the final months of your life. This unique structure, a quirky tidbit in itself, allows you to build your arguments systematically, starting with broad principles and gradually delving into finer, more subtle points. You are creating a comprehensive guide, not just for the swordsman, but for anyone seeking mastery in any competitive endeavor. Your eyes might tire, your hand might cramp, but your resolve remains unwavering. This is your final battle, fought not with steel, but with ink and paper. You are meticulously selecting your words, ensuring precision and clarity. Just as you once selected the perfect moment for a decisive strike, the weight of your legacy, the desire to leave behind something truly meaningful, propels you forward. This book is not just a collection of techniques. It is a spiritual testament, a blueprint for a life lived with unwavering focus and profound understanding. It is a guide to the way, a path you forged with your own hands and your own spirit. Historians still argue about the precise audience you intended for the book, whether it was primarily for your direct students or a broader philosophical treatise for future generations, but its universal appeal certainly transcends its original context. Imagine the deliberate process. You are not writing for fame or fortune, but for the sake of passing on true understanding. The shock of your first duel, the audacity of challenging the Yoshioka, the ultimate confrontation with Kajiro Sasaki, these experiences, once raw and immediate, are now filtered through the lens of wisdom and analysis. You extract the underlying principles from each encounter, dissecting not just what you did, but why you did it, and more importantly, what it taught you about strategy, timing, and the human mind. Each character you brush onto the paper is imbued with decades of practical, brutal experience and profound contemplation. Your approach is unique, eschewing the flowery language and theoretical abstractions common in other martial arts texts. Instead, you write with the directness of a sword stroke, cutting straight to the essence. You aim to explain not just how to fight, but how to think like a warrior, how to adapt, how to overcome. The book is structured into 5 distinct scrolls, each dedicated to a fundamental aspect of your philosophy. Mirroring the elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and void. As you write, you are undoubtedly revisiting every major event of your life. The physical act of writing is itself an exercise in discipline. You begin the arduous task of writing the Book of 5 Rings, starting with the Earth Scroll. This is the foundational text, the bedrock upon which all your subsequent teachings will rest. Imagine yourself meticulously structuring this opening section, laying out the fundamental principles of your martial art. The knight in Uchireir, with the clarity and directness that are hallmarks of your character. This is about understanding conflict in its broadest sense, whether it's a duel, a battle, or a negotiation. You discuss the mindset of the warrior, the importance of practice, and the difference between true martial skill and mere showmanship. You are telling them that true mastery begins with understanding the basics, with a solid, unshakable foundation. It's like teaching someone to walk before they can run. But in your case, the walking involves wielding 2 swords at once. The words flow from your brush, deliberate and profound, creating a stable platform for the deeper, more fluid insights that will follow in the subsequent scrolls. You advocate for a straightforward, honest approach to combat, stripping away the unnecessary complexities and flourishes that often characterized other schools. Historians still argue about the precise influences on your early martial development, but the Earth Scroll firmly establishes your unique, practical perspective, rooted in direct experience. You discuss the importance of training diligently, of never straying from the true path, and of cultivating a mindset that is always ready, always alert. A quirky tidbit is your emphasis on the gaze, how a warrior should perceive both near and far simultaneously, without focusing too intently on any single point, allowing for peripheral awareness of the entire situation. Imagine trying to explain this to a student. See without seeing, you might say, the same way you'd instinctively spot an ambush. As you did with the Yoshioka, this is a mainstream historical fact. The Earth Scroll serves as an introduction to your unique philosophy, outlining the general strategy and mindset necessary for mastering any way. You are not diving into flashy techniques or complex maneuvers just yet. Instead, you are establishing the essential groundwork, much like a builder lays a solid foundation before constructing a house. You emphasize the importance of proper posture, describing it not just as a physical stance, but as a state of mental readiness, a grounded, stable base from which all effective action springs. You discuss the importance of wielding both the long and short swords, the katana and wakizashi, simultaneously. A core tenet of your 2 swords as one school, stressing how each weapon complements the other. You explain that this isn't just a physical technique, but a principle of maximizing all available resources. You also introduce the concept of the way of strategy, making it clear that your teachings extend far beyond mere swordsmanship The Earth Scroll is your attempt to explain the general principles of your school, Ichi or Ryer, and the broader strategies applicable to all forms of combat. As you write, you are essentially setting the stage. It's inviting the reader into your world and asking them to clear their mind of preconceived notions. Having laid the solid foundation with the Earth Scroll, you now transition to the Water Scroll. This is where your philosophy truly begins to flow, embodying the very essence of your martial art: fluid movement and adaptive strategy. Imagine yourself meticulously detailing how water, though soft and yielding, can carve stone or become a devastating flood. This is a mainstream historical fact. The Water Scroll is dedicated to the practical techniques of your Knight in Ichiria school, explaining stance, grip, footwork, and the critical importance of adaptable movement in combat. You explain that victory is not just about speed or strength, but about understanding the opponent's rhythm, disrupting it, and imposing your own. You are teaching your readers not to be like a rigid dam, but like the river itself, constantly flowing, constantly adapting, always finding a way to overcome obstacles. The subtle movements of the brush on the scroll mimic the fluid motions of the sword, guiding the reader through the dynamic heart of your martial art. It's a testament to your genius that you can articulate such complex, fluid concepts with such precise, clear language. This is where your deep observational skills, honed over countless duels, come into play. You teach how to read an opponent's intentions, how to anticipate their movements, and how to strike at the precise moment of their vulnerability. Historians still argue about the exact technical details of some of your more esoteric concepts, but the emphasis on adaptability and psychological engagement in the Water Scroll is clear. You begin by describing the fundamental stance, emphasizing that it should be natural, flexible, and ready for immediate action, not rigid or static. You explain the proper grip on the sword, advocating for a firm yet relaxed hold that allows for subtle adjustments. You talk about cutting, parrying, and thrusting, but always in the context of creating opportunities and controlling the engagement. A quirky tidbit is your emphasis on the void in the opponent's mind. How you can use your movement and presence to create confusion or hesitation in your adversary, exploiting their mental gaps just as you exploit a physical opening. Imagine explaining to your students that by moving unpredictably, you can make an opponent question their own senses, creating a momentary mental void that you can exploit for victory. But the core of this scroll lies in your articulation of footwork and body movement. You teach that movement should be like water, flowing, adaptable, and constantly seeking the path of least resistance, while simultaneously creating openings or exploiting weaknesses. You are not advocating for a fixed choreography, but for an intuitive, responsive dance with your opponent. You detail specific techniques, but always with the caveat that they are merely tools, to be applied with the fluidity of water, adapting to the ever-changing circumstances of a duel. You also delve into the concept of timing and rhythm. As you write the Water Scroll, you are essentially providing the practical manual for your philosophy, translating abstract principles into actionable advice. With the foundational principles of earth and the fluid techniques of water now inscribed, you move on to the Fire Scroll. This is where the intensity ignites, where you address the realities of combat engagement and energetic force. You talk about gaining the initiative, explaining different types of initiative. Ken no sen, Dai no sen, Na Dai 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 no sen. This isn't about being reckless. It's about understanding the psychological edge of being the one to dictate the pace and direction of the fight. You emphasize that hesitation is fatal, and a warrior must always strive to take control from the outset. You are distilling the essence of countless skirmishes, the desperate cries of battle, the sudden, decisive moments that determine life or death. You are teaching your readers how to harness their own inner fire, to be aggressive when necessary, to be decisive, and to strike with overwhelming force when the moment is right. This scroll is not just a guide to fighting. It's a guide to living with an unyielding spirit, ready to face any challenge head-on, much like a controlled blaze. Imagine yourself channeling the raw, destructive power of fire, explaining how it consumes and transforms. This is a mainstream historical fact. The Fire Scroll focuses on the dynamics of actual combat, emphasizing aggressive initiative, seizing opportunities, and overwhelming the opponent with focused intent. You mean defeating them comprehensively, mentally, and spiritually, breaking their will to fight? This involves understanding their strengths and weaknesses, their mindset, and how to exploit them. You might describe various tactics for defeating multiple opponents, or for fighting in confined spaces, always emphasizing adaptability and efficiency. Historians still argue about the precise military battles or campaigns that most informed your insights in the Fire Scroll. But the raw, practical nature of its advice suggests a deep understanding of actual warfare, whether on a small or large scale. You're no longer just discussing stance or movement. You're delving into the heart of the fight itself. You describe the critical importance of timing, not just in terms of distance, but in recognizing the opportune moment to strike, to feint, or to retreat. You explain how to exploit an opponent's momentary weakness, flicker of doubt, a shift in balance, or a moment of distraction. You talk about the energy of a fight, the ebb and flow, and how to maintain your own aggressive spirit while simultaneously disrupting your opponents. A quirky tidbit in this scroll is your advice on stepping on the sword, not literally, but a metaphorical instruction to overwhelm an opponent's defense by relentlessly pressing forward, creating an unbroken chain of attacks that offers no respite. It's about suffocating their ability to react, much like a fire consumes everything in its path. You also discuss the concept of cutting down the enemy, but not just as a physical act. As you write the Fire Scroll, your brushstrokes might be more forceful, reflecting the intensity of the subject matter. With the foundational elements of earth, the fluid movements of water, and the aggressive spirit of fire now articulated, you move to the Wind Scroll. This is where your insights become more refined, shifting focus from your own direct action to the critical importance of understanding others and gaining subtle insights into their methods. You don't just say they are wrong. You explain why their approaches are less effective or inherently vulnerable compared to your own fluid, adaptive way. You might criticize schools that prioritize flashy movements over practical effectiveness, or those that focus too much on specific stances that are icily exploited. By understanding the weaknesses inherent in other styles, you can better formulate strategies to counter them. You encourage a mindset of constant learning and adaptation, never becoming complacent or dogmatic in your own approach. Historians still argue about the specific rival schools you were referencing in certain passages, as you often avoided naming them directly, perhaps to maintain a degree of intellectual distance, or to make your critiques more universally applicable. This critical analysis isn't about arrogance. It's about providing your students with a deeper understanding of the martial landscape they operate within. You are teaching your readers to see beyond the obvious, to understand the unseen forces at play, much like the wind. You are providing them with the tools to become master strategists, capable of dissecting any situation and understanding the underlying dynamics of conflict. This scroll is not just a critique of others, it's a profound lesson in self-awareness, urging your students to understand their own strengths by understanding the limitations of all others, preparing them for the ultimate, most elusive scroll of all. Imagine the wind, invisible yet powerful, able to influence everything it touches. You urge your students to observe diligently, to study the unique characteristics of each school, each fighter. You are teaching them to read subtle cues, to understand an opponent's intentions before they fully manifest. This involves discerning the difference between genuine skill and mere illusion, between a confident posture and an anxious mind. A quirky tidbit is your dismissive attitude towards schools that rely on elaborate, long swords or overly complex techniques, suggesting they are impractical in real combat. You likely found such displays amusing, a testament to a lack of true understanding of fighting. This is a mainstream historical fact. The Wind Scroll is largely dedicated to analyzing and critiquing other martial arts schools, not out of malice, but to highlight their inherent flaws and limitations. You dissect the methods of various rival schools, pointing out their rigid adherence to fixed forms, their reliance on specific weapons, or their narrow focus on particular techniques. You emphasize that true mastery involves not just knowing your own strengths, but also anticipating and neutralizing the strengths of your opponent. You also discuss the concept of knowing yourself, knowing your opponent, a principle that transcends martial arts and applies to any competitive endeavor. As you write the Wind Scroll, your brushstrokes might be analytical, precise, reflecting the keen observation and critical thinking that defines this section. With the material forms of combat and strategy now thoroughly covered in the previous scrolls, you reach the pinnacle of your philosophy, the Void Scroll. This is not about specific techniques or external observations. It is about the ultimate, most profound aspect of your way the space beyond form, beyond thought, where true mastery resides. It's about achieving a mind that is open, discerning, and utterly without delusion. It is through dedicated training in the other four scrolls, water, fire, and wind, that one can finally arrive at the understanding of the void. It's a state that cannot be taught directly. It must be experienced. You are not filling the scroll with complex sentences, but with profound truths. You are imparting the culmination of your life's wisdom, the ultimate secret that lies beyond all technique. This final scroll is your whispered guidance, urging the reader to continue their own journey of self-mastery until they, too, can perceive the formless, limitless realm of the void, finding perfect freedom and decisive action within it. A quirky tidbit about the void is its paradoxical nature. It is both empty and full, nothing and everything. You might describe it as the space between thoughts, the moment of pure, intuitive action that comes without conscious deliberation, a perfectly executed sword strike that seems to happen on its own. You talk about perceiving things that are not there, and seeing things that are there in their true form. This isn't literal hallucination. It's about seeing through appearances, understanding the true nature of a situation without the interference of ego, fear, or preconceived notions. It's the ability to act spontaneously and effectively, without conscious thought, because your understanding is so complete. Imagine yourself reaching a state of pure, unconditioned awareness, a mind clear and empty, yet ready for anything. This is a mainstream historical fact. The Void Scroll is the briefest, yet most elusive section of the Book of Five Rings, summarizing the deepest, most spiritual insights of your martial art. You explain that the void is not an absence, but a state of being where there is no confusion, no hesitation, no doubt. To grasp the void, you emphasize the importance of rigorous practice, not just of physical techniques, but of mental and spiritual discipline. You argue that truly understanding the way of strategy means recognizing this profound emptiness, this realm of pure potential. It's about being so deeply immersed in your discipline that you transcend its limitations and operate on an entirely different plane. You speak of the importance of recognizing the truth within yourself and in all things, unburdened by attachments or desires. Historians still argue about the philosophical roots of your concept of the void, drawing parallels to Zen Buddhist teachings and various Taoist principles, but its unique application to martial strategy is unmistakably yours. As you write the Void Scroll, your brushstrokes might be sparse, deliberate, leaving ample empty space on the paper, mirroring the very concept you are describing. As the final words of the Void Scroll are committed to paper, a profound sense of completion washes over you. The monumental task of distilling a lifetime of brutal experience and profound insight into the coherent wisdom of the Book of Five Rings is nearing its end. Perhaps a persistent cough, a deepening chill that even your internal fortitude cannot completely shake, or a pervasive fatigue that settles into your bones. Instead, you accept it, observing its progression with the same detached awareness you applied to understanding the void. Around the same time as the Book of Five Rings, or perhaps even shortly after, this short 21-precept work serves as a personal will, a philosophical testament emphasizing self-reliance, detachment from worldly desires, and an unflinching acceptance of reality. It's almost as if, having explained the external strategies of combat, you then turn to articulate the internal spiritual posture one needs to face life, and ultimately death. This parallel creation underscores your holistic view of mastery. This is the ultimate application of accepting everything just as it is from your Dakad. You've not only survived a brutal era and defeated countless opponents, but you've managed to codify your unique wisdom for future generations. The cave, once a sanctuary for creation, now becomes a quiet waiting room. You have completed your life's work, leaving behind a profound intellectual legacy that will continue to guide and inspire long after your body has turned to dust. The journey is nearly complete, and you face the inevitable with the same calm, unwavering spirit that defined your entire life. There's no fear, no regret, just a quiet understanding of the natural cycle of life and death. You've lived a life so fully, so intensely, that the approach of its end feels like a natural culmination, not a tragedy. Historians still argue about the precise nature of the illness that took your life, but the fact that you continued to write until the very end speaks volumes about your unwavering spirit. Your movements, once so fluid and effortless, now require a conscious effort. The hand that once wielded two swords with deadly precision, later brushed profound calligraphy, might now tremble slightly as you hold your writing tools. Yet your mind remains remarkably clear, focused on completing your legacy. This is a final act of discipline, refusing to let physical decline impede your ultimate purpose. But as one great journey concludes, another, inevitable one begins. Your advanced age, coupled with the ascetic conditions of Redondo Cave, means your body is now facing its final greatest challenge. Illness begins to creep in, a subtle but undeniable weariness that signals you're approaching mortality. This is a mainstream historical fact. You completed your Go-Rin no-show just weeks before your death, indicating a period of declining health. Imagine the subtle changes you feel. You're not fighting this illness with the same aggressive tactics you used against opponents in a duel. A quirky tidbit during this period is your possible creation of the Dakad as you finish proofreading your scrolls. Perhaps asking one of your loyal disciples to make a final clean copy. You feel the weight of your achievements. The final pages of the Book of Five Rings are complete. Your last words penned, a profound sense of accomplishment settling within you. The illness has tightened its grip, but your spirit remains unbowed. You are ready. As your final moments approach, you embody the very principles you have articulated throughout your life. And in your writings, control, presence, and an unwavering, dignified acceptance of destiny. This is a mainstream historical fact. Historical accounts suggest that you faced your death with the same discipline and stoicism that characterized your entire life. The flickering lamp casts long shadows, indifferent to the departure of a legend. Your physical form is still, but the spirit that drove you, the wisdom you forged, and the principles you articulated now transcend the fleeting existence of a single life. Your legacy is no longer confined to the echoes of duels or the whispers of your students. It is now etched in the pages of the Book of Five Rings, a timeless testament to your unparalleled journey from a wild child to an immortal master. The world continues, but a unique and powerful force has now departed, leaving behind a profound echo. Imagine your final posture. You are not lying weakly in a bed. Instead, accounts describe you sitting upright, perhaps even in a meditative position, facing the direction of the rising sun. You have lived fully, fought fiercely, and thought deeply. Your mission to pass on your wisdom is complete. Your breath, which has carried you through countless duels and years of wandering, now begins to soften, too slow, becoming shallower. It's a gentle fading, a peaceful surrender, not out of weakness, but out of a profound understanding of the natural order. A quirky tidbit about your passing is the emphasis in some accounts on your final moments being a demonstration of ultimate control. Rather than succumbing to a slow decline, you are said to have passed away suddenly, almost as if you chose the precise moment, a final, deliberate act of will. Your eyes, though dimming, retain their piercing intensity, fixed on some distant horizon, perhaps an inner one. Your hands, though frail, might still rest in a position of quiet strength, perhaps loosely clasped, or in a specific mudra, a symbolic gesture of the hand. This conscious choice of posture, even at the precipice of death, reflects your lifelong dedication to maintaining control over your mind and body until the very last breath. There is no struggle, no frantic clinging to life. Your disciples, if any are present, witness this final act of self-mastery. They see not a man succumbing to infirmity, but a master completing his journey, embodying his philosophy to its ultimate conclusion. This powerful example leaves an indelible mark on their minds, reinforcing the very lessons you spent your final years documenting. Historians still argue about the exact circumstances and witnesses to your death, as precise records are scarce. But the enduring image is one of a warrior philosopher meeting his end with unparalleled composure and dignity. The quiet of Redondo Cave embraces you as your breath finally ceases. Though your physical presence has departed from the quiet of Redondo Cave, your essence, your teachings, and your philosophy continue to resonate. The ink on the scrolls of the Book of Five Rings has long dried, but the words pulse with the spirit of a life lived at the edge of human capability. Your emphasis on adaptability, directness, and understanding the core principles of any engagement becomes universally applicable. A corporate executive preparing for a crucial negotiation might find parallels in your advice on gaining the initiative or stepping on the sword. The Book of Five Rings is not just a martial arts manual. It's a guide to living effectively, a blueprint for mastering any way in life. It's a reminder that true strength often comes from within, from shedding attachments and facing reality head-on. So, as the centuries turn and the world outside the Rigondo Cave transforms beyond recognition, your voice, through your writings, continues to offer a clear, unwavering path. We're no longer simply Miyamoto Musashi, the swordsman. You are a timeless symbol of mastery, perseverance, and the enduring power of a disciplined mind. Your legend, unlike the fleeting lives of your opponents, is truly immortal. It continues to be studied in military academies, business schools, and by individuals seeking a deeper understanding of strategic thinking and personal discipline. A chess master might recognize the nuances of knowing yourself, knowing your opponent. Your insights aren't about brute force. They're about the psychology of conflict, the power of clear perception, and the art of decisive action. Your death is not an ending, but a transformation, for it marks the true beginning of your enduring legacy. Your wisdom, forged in the crucible of real-world combat and refined through decades of introspection, now flows freely, unbound by time or place. This is a mainstream historical fact. Miyamoto Musashi's writings have profoundly influenced not only martial artists, but also strategists, business leaders, and philosophers worldwide for centuries. Imagine your words traveling through time, transcending the specific context of 17th century Japan. Your very image, the unkempt Ronin, the master of two swords, becomes an archetype. You embody the fierce independence, the self-reliance, and the pursuit of mastery beyond conventional boundaries. A quirky tidbit about your legacy is the sheer volume of popular culture references you inspire. It's from countless samurai films and manga to video games and novels. Your name and image are synonymous with the ultimate warrior. You are often portrayed as the solitary, invincible swordsman, figure of stoic, cool, and unparalleled skill, even if the cinematic versions sometimes take liberties with historical accuracy. Historians still argue about the precise details of your life, the exact number of your duels, or the extent of your formal education. But the impact of your philosophical treatises is undisputed. Your way of walking alone, though brief, stands as a powerful testament to personal freedom and unwavering integrity. As your legacy unfurls across the centuries, the teachings enshrined within the Book of Five Rings continue to offer profound guidance, beyond the specific techniques of swordsmanship. Your work delves into universal principles of strategy that apply to every conceivable competitive arena. They might draw inspiration from your concepts of gaining the initiative or the rhythm of 1,000 miles. Translating them into the dynamics of a fast-paced match, you teach that understanding your opponent's flow and disrupting it is key, whether on a battlefield or a playing field. However, the unique fusion of these ideas with your unparalleled practical experience is what gives your work its distinctive power. You didn't just read about strategy, you lived it, in every duel, every challenge. This practical grounding makes your advice resonate with an authentic voice, or a voice that has faced death and emerged with profound lessons. You emphasize the importance of observation, not just of physical movements, but of psychological tells, of subtle shifts in confidence or intention. You taught that fear, hesitation, and anger are internal enemies, more dangerous than any external opponent. By mastering your own emotions and maintaining a state of detached awareness, you could perform optimally even in the most chaotic circumstances. This psychological fortitude, a direct result of your Zen training, becomes a vital component of your overall strategy. The legacy of your strategic mind is not just about swinging a sword. It's about navigating the complexities of any challenge with wisdom, clarity, and an unwavering resolve. Your quiet whispers from the cave continue to offer profound lessons for those who seek to master their chosen path. This holistic approach to strategy is one of the reasons your work transcends its original context. Your emphasis on understanding the situation in its entirety, on being adaptable, and on seizing the initiative provides a timeless framework for success. This mental clarity, honed through countless life or death situations, is a core lesson in your book. It's about recognizing the critical moment, the weak point, the hidden opportunity that others might miss. A quirky tidbit related to this is your preference for simple, often unadorned tools and weapons. Saw beyond the ornate trappings to the true function and effectiveness. Reflection of your own stripped-down, brutally efficient philosophy. You probably would have looked at a modern, overly complicated gadget and thought, too many moving parts, too many ways to fail. This is a mainstream historical fact. The practical, direct advice in your book distinguishes it from more esoteric martial arts texts, making it highly accessible and impactful. Imagine someone in a modern setting, perhaps a sports coach preparing for a crucial game. You often spoke of the importance of seeing through, of perceiving the true nature of things without being clouded by superficial appearances or preconceived notions. Historians still argue about the philosophical influences on your writings, debating the blend of Zen Buddhism, Taoism, and indigenous Japanese thought. Your counsel on maintaining a calm, clear mind under pressure is particularly relevant. Even as your wisdom echoes through time, the concept of the way, so central to your philosophy, continues to be a powerful guiding principle. It's not just about swordsmanship or military strategy. It's about a lifelong pursuit of mastery in any endeavor, a continuous path of self-improvement and profound understanding. Your teachings encourage this total immersion, this relentless pursuit of excellence. The principles you discovered in combat about timing, space, and adapting to your opponent are transferable to other disciplines. You were constantly evolving, never settling into rigid dogma. This state of pure awareness allows for spontaneous, effective action. It's the ability to react without thinking, because your training and understanding are so deep that the correct response emerges naturally. This is the ultimate goal of the way, to transcend conscious effort and operate from a place of intuitive mastery. Your life, from the wild boy to the wise old man, was a testament to this relentless journey. A living embodiment of the continuous path towards true mastery, one that invites all to embark upon their own way. You understood that rigid adherence to form could become a limitation, a cage. This commitment to continuous learning and self-transcendence is a powerful, yet often overlooked aspect of your philosophy. Historians still argue about the precise origins of your unique, individualistic approach to the way and how much it diverged from the more communal and lineage-focused traditions of other Japanese martial arts schools. A craftsman, for example, might find that the focus required to perfectly shape would mirrors the concentration needed to strike an opponent. The fluidity of your sword movements is reflected in the natural flow of your inkwash paintings. This interdisciplinary approach to learning, where insights from one area inform another, is a powerful aspect of your legacy. You speak of training daily, of reflecting on your actions, and of constantly seeking to refine your understanding. It's a never-ending process of learning and adaptation, rejecting complacency and embracing the challenge of continuous growth. This isn't just about achieving a skill, it's about becoming one with the skill, allowing it to flow from you effortlessly. This is a mainstream historical fact. The idea of a do implies a discipline, way of life, and a spiritual journey towards perfection, a concept you embodied and articulated. Imagine dedicating your entire existence to a craft, whether it's pottery, painting, or programming. With the same intensity and focus you brought to the sword, you emphasize that mastery in one way can illuminate others. A quirky tidbit that reflects this holistic approach is your personal lack of attachment to any specific style or school, even your own once it was developed. You also stress the importance of emptying the mind, not in the sense of being thoughtless, but of being free from preconceived notions, emotional interference, and ego. As your life's journey drew to a close and you sat in the stillness of Rigando Cave, the wisdom you amassed transcended the confines of mortal life, too, becomes a powerful narrative. Your teachings resonate because they are rooted in authentic experience, not just abstract theory. You didn't just talk about strategy, you embodied it. You didn't just teach the way, you were the way. And in this enduring influence, in the countless lives touched by your wisdom, you achieve a form of immortality. The quiet cave may be empty now, but the legacy of Miyamoto Musashi, the sword saint, strategist, and philosopher, continues to echo through the ages, a timeless whisper of mastery and enduring truth. The untamed boy, the undefeated duelist, the solitary artist, the profound philosopher, this multifaceted life captures the imagination. You represent the ideal of self-mastery, a figure who forged his own path and achieved unparalleled excellence through sheer will and relentless dedication. A quirky tidbit about your legend is how it often intertwines with mythical elements. Stories of your impossible feats, like dodging projectiles from a distance or appearing to vanish from sight, became commonplace, blurring the line between man and legend. Adding to your almost supernatural aura, you became the embodiment of the invincible warrior, a figure almost larger than life. Your profound insights, however, the core narrative of your unwavering commitment to your way, your ability to adapt, and your profound insights into strategy remains consistently powerful across all accounts. You are a symbol of a warrior who transcended mere violence to achieve a deeper understanding of life and death. Particularly those distilled into the Book of Five Rings, ensure your legacy becomes timeless wisdom and an enduring legend. This is a mainstream historical fact. Your teachings are not merely historical artifacts, but continue to be studied and applied across diverse fields, proving their perennial relevance. Imagine generations of individuals, long after your physical body has returned to the earth, poring over your words. A young samurai in the Edo period, diligently practicing his sword forms, finds inspiration in your emphasis on fluid adaptation. A general in a modern war college studies your concepts of seizing the initiative and understanding terrain. A CEO, strategizing a market takeover, sees parallels in your advice on knowing your opponent's weaknesses and exploiting them. Your insights on perception and psychological warfare are particularly enduring, demonstrating that conflict, at its core, is as much a battle of minds as it is of strength. Your personal story. Historians still argue about the precise veracity of every tale surrounding your duels and exploits, acknowledging the tendency for legends to grow over time. The very name Musashi itself becomes shorthand for ultimate skill and unwavering resolve. As the final whispers of your legend settle upon the world, a profound sense of closure descends. Your journey, from the wild boy in Harima to the revered author in Regondo Cave, has been one of relentless self-perfection and an unwavering commitment to your way. You have lived a life that few could ever imagine, carving your destiny not just with a sword, but with a philosophy that continues to illuminate pathways for generations. Your physical body is long gone, yet your spirit, through the enduring words of the Book of Five Rings, remains a vibrant, guiding force. Imagine the quiet peace that now defines your eternal state. Still argue about the precise details of your early life and the influences that shaped your unique perspective. But the general arc of your transformation from a dueling machine to a philosopher of life remains undeniably powerful. You are a reminder that even in the most chaotic times, one can find a path to mastery and contribute enduring wisdom. So now, as the image of Miyamoto Musashi, the sword saint, dissolves into the realm of dreams, let the quiet strength of his enduring legacy settle over you, a peaceful whisper across the centuries. The clanging of steel, the dust of the road, the political intrigues of feudal Japan all have faded into the mists of history. You showed that mastery is not about rigid adherence to tradition, but about continuous learning and the courage to forge one's own path. The principles you laid out, whether for battle or for daily life, emphasize clarity of mind, decisive action, and the understanding that true strength comes from within. The very fact that people, centuries later, in places like Von Vietnam, are listening to your story in the quiet of their homes speaks to the incredible reach of your influence. What remains is the distilled essence of your wisdom, pure and timeless. You might find your advice on the timing of striking a rock applied to a business negotiation, or your teachings on the rhythm of 1,000 miles, discussed in a sports coaching session. Your philosophy, born from the brutal realities of individual combat, has proven surprisingly relevant to the complexities of the modern world, a true testament to its universal truths. You are no longer bound by the fleeting concerns of mortal existence. You are an archetype, a symbol of disciplined excellence and profound insight. This final tranquility is the true reward for a life lived with such intensity and purpose. Your legacy is a testament to the power of observation, adaptation, and an unwavering belief in self-reliance. A quirky tidbit that beautifully encapsulates your enduring impact is how your insights are often referenced in unexpected modern contexts. Historians. And now, as the last echoes of Musashi's timeless wisdom begin to fade, let your mind gently release the intricate details of his extraordinary journey. The clang of steel, the dust of ancient roads, the profound stillness of mountain caves they are receding, softening into the quiet corners of your imagination. You've traveled through a life of unparalleled discipline and insight, a testament to the power of the human spirit. The history we've revisited tonight, with all its starkness and profound wisdom, serves only to highlight the simple comforts that now surround you. Drift further and further, letting your thoughts become as light as feathers, floating on a calm, still breeze. All is well, all is quiet, and let these moments carry you gently into the deepest, sweetest slumber. But for tonight, you are safe, nestled in your comfortable space, surrounded by the gentle quiet of your own world. Let the lingering images of intense duels and philosophical contemplation dissipate like morning mist. The pursuit of the way, the lessons of the 5 rings, they are no longer here to challenge you. Instead, feel the softness of your pillow, the soothing coolness of the air, the deep tranquility that only true rest can bring. The relentless pursuit of mastery is not yours to carry into the night. You are secure, your mind is at ease, and your dreams await, calm and untroubled. Allow your breathing to deepen, each inhale a soft drawing in of peace, each exhale a gentle release of any remaining tension.